First and foremost, Louie, I want to thank you for being here, and I'm glad that you're able to come on to share part of your journey with us today. I had the pleasure of connecting with you through Emilio. If I'm right, it was like a Facebook Messenger, like, "Hey, you guys got to talk to one another, get to know each other,"
Yep.
and that was a while ago. I'm gonna guess 6 months ago, maybe. It feels like that. And I know we connected since then, and we had a few bumps just to get this podcast episode going, but now we're here, we're together, and I'm excited for you to dive in and share with the listeners and the viewers about your journey because you have a lot to say, and I know we're only going to touch on some here in this episode. So I would like for you to just open up with who are you today, Lily? What do you have going on today?
Oh, what do I got going on today? I just got my book in the mail. My first book that I wrote. Um, so yeah, I'm gonna get ready as soon as we're finished here. I got a list of all the people that ordered the book. I'm gonna go downstairs. I'm gonna personalize copies, put it in envelopes, and I'm gonna ship them as quickly as I can to get it in their hands so they can read it. Um, uh, the the Born to Risk Veterans Edition just came out. I was a part of that. Just having it and being able to read the testimonies of my peers has been phenomenal because all of them have something excellent to share. Um, so yeah, those two things, and then yeah, my own personal journey. Right now, I mean, I'm ex- I'm a devout Roman Catholic, and I applied for the permanent diaconate within the Catholic Church. Um, I had an interview with the bishop a couple weeks ago, and he accepted me to be an uh, aspirant, uh, an, an aspirant in permanent diaconate. So that's really the last few months have been really busy finishing my book and then I had a ton of interviews to do for that. So it's been really busy.
That's great. And so that's a lot that's going on now, right? Did you ever see yourself getting to this point, writing a book, being part of a book? No.
Where I'm at today, absolutely not. No,
Yeah,
no.
right.
If you'd have told me, you know, because I'm a United States Marine. I retired after 25 years. If you'd have told me on the day of my retirement that I would be at the point that I'm at now, I would have probably laughed at you and said, "You're crazy." But here we are. The Lord works in mysterious ways, man.
Yeah, he does some great things, that's for sure, and we just don't think it is sometimes, right? So let's just go back a little bit. I like for you to share part of that journey. If you want to tap into what you were doing in the Marines, if there was kind of some kind of experiences in there that kind of filtered out, came through to the real world in a sense after you left and you retired. What kind of trouble you might have went through there. So feel free to take it where you want from, leaving the military or even being in it. And we'll just dive into part of that journey and then see how we got to where you are today.
Okay, yeah, most definitely. Um, like I said, I served 25 years. I joined 4 days out of high school. So when I graduated 4 days later, which as a matter of fact, I'm coming up on it'll be 31 years in 2 days. Is the day I went to boot camp on June 18th, 1995. So yeah, it's 31 years ago. So yeah, 4 days out of high school, joined the military service. I grew up in Youngstown, Ohio. Um, it's you know, uh, it's within the steel belt. It was one of the cities that used to house used to manufacture the steel for the steel mills. There was that was like the primary thing here in Youngstown when I was a kid growing up. Um, well, when I was growing up, actually they started moving the manufacturing of steel overseas. and they had to close all the steel mills. So, I don't wanna say I had a rough upbringing, but, if anybody knows anything about Youngstown, it's, they're broken into, like, little ethnic areas. Huge, maybe not so much anymore, but I know during my youth, um, you couldn't spit left or right without hitting a, either a Catholic school or a Catholic church. It's a little different now, a lot less because, uh, less attendance at mass and things like that. So, but yeah, I grew up Catholic. Um, I don't want to say I was extremely devout then. I was for I went to Catholic school for 8 years, and once I left Catholic school and went to public school, I was a teenager, I was an adolescent, hormones, started liking girls, and became uh, infatuated with the things of this world. Um, so kind of drifted from my faith, and by the time I went to boot camp, I was just, how do you say it? Um, there's a saying, "There's no atheists in foxholes." Um, I never denounced my faith. I never, told anybody I was Roman Catholic. When I got to boot camp, I told them I was Roman Catholic. But the only time I really reached out to God was when I was either in danger or I wanted something for myself. So I wasn't the model Catholic by any means. But went through 25 years. I did a lot of things. Experienced a lot of things. Saw a lot of people. Um, but as I got time, I got toward the end of my career. And, you don't think about those things, but as the proverbial train starts to slow down to drop you off at the station, you start to reflect a little more. And as I reflected a little more, um, I found that there was a lot of things that maybe I did during my time that, um, in a moral sense, didn't match with how I really was. And as the um, this identity that I had started to crumble and it started to break away. Um, I started to notice a lot more of those things and started to realize, I did a lot of great things, but there's a lot of things that I did that maybe wasn't so great. And then you add in, the aspect of transitioning from the military. It's brutal. Um, I, I went to a retirement seminar 3 times because they say don't just go once. You got to go more than once. So I said, you know what? I'll go 3 times. So I went 3 times. I learned something new every time. But even attending that 3 times, it did not prepare me mentally for what was ahead of me. And everybody's experience is different. I had a lot of peers that retired. Some it was a seamless transition for them, and they thrived quite well outside of the military. They were able to transition between point A to point B with, minimal, effect on their lives and their families and everything else, and then, I have some peers that to this day still struggle, and it was a struggle. It was a struggle not only for me, it was a struggle for my family too, because they were used to that environment, and, military environment with the civilian community, 2 totally different things. In the military community, there's a lot of shared hardship. It's a lot easier for your spouse and your kids to make friends and to get along with people through shared hardship. In the civilian community, you might see a Marine Corps flag or Army flag or Air Force bumper sticker every now and then on a house in the neighborhood, but a lot of people don't have any experience with the military. Uh, what we experience in the military. So there's I don't want to say there's a misunderstanding there, but uh, they don't have the knowledge to have any kind of empathy or sympathy for what the family's going through. So it was brutal for all of us. It was extremely brutal for me. You know, I'm looking back at my life. I'm looking back at my time in the Marine Corps. I'm feeling uh, you know, some guilt and some shame um, from some of the things that I went through, and some of the things I've experienced, and some of the things I took part in, and then now I have this loss of identity. You know, I was Master Sergeant Alessio or Corporal Alessio or Sergeant Alessio for 25 years, and now I'm just Louie. Nobody's gonna say, "Hey, Master Sergeant," or anything like that unless I talk to somebody that I knew during the military. Um, outside of that, the these the people are not I got good neighbors. I love them. They're great people. But I mean, outside of the couple initial conversations we had when I first moved in the neighborhood, we haven't even broached the subject of military service ever since.
Mm.
This is 5, 6 years. So it was hard for me. It was hard. You lose that identity. You lose all your the people, your close friends, and it was I became the most despondent and uh, the most down I'd ever been in my entire life. About 1 to 2 months after I retired, uh, to where I had planned on taking my own life. And the day that I decided that I was going to do this, I went in my basement. I used to be a music fanatic, and I love the Beatles dearly. So I got this big Beatles box set. I was just gonna listen from the first album all the way to the last album, and then once that was done, I was gonna, go ahead and make my exit. And as I got towards the end, um, I didn't leave no hints. I didn't make no phone calls. I didn't start giving stuff away. It was gonna be uh, what I assumed was gonna be a private thing. Just me. Um, my phone rings out of the blue, and it was one of my 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 most important mentor that I had during my time in the military. As a matter of fact, he's in the Born to Risk uh, Veterans inaugural edition too. Ross Blaine called me out of the blue, and he's got a really magnetic personality and make you laugh very easily. We were drill instructors together. Now during that time, it didn't make me laugh, but as I got to know him after that time, because he was a higher rank to me and he was in a higher billet than I was, and as time went by, we developed a friendship, and we worked together some more at officer candidate school, and really became you know he became my most trusted mentor during the last half of my career. He just called out of the blue, and I had for of all the things I didn't silence. Well, thank God that I didn't. I didn't silence my phone. So um, yeah, I I loved him and respected him enough that I was like, you know what, I'll take this call. If I figure if it's gonna be, somebody that last person I talked to, uh, I couldn't have thought of anybody better. And then at the same time, I get a text from another one of my mentors, just text me out of the blue just to tell me he loved me. And that was Robert Lytle. He's also in the Veterans Inaugural Edition. God bless him. Right out of the blue, back to back. Just you can't. Uh, I don't think I realized it at the time, but it had enough a significant shock on me that it stayed my hand long enough for me to be like, "What am I doing?" And the longer I talked to Ross on the phone, and he was dealing with his own struggles. I mean, he didn't, the things that he had going on. He took the time and took time out of his day and out of his schedule because, he's a disabled veteran, um, and significant injuries during his time in the military. But he took the time, and the more I talked to him, the more I was like, "Wow," it slowly broke that, um, whatever had a hold on me, and, before we got off the phone, he's like, "You got a wife that loves you. She's been with you through thick and thin. Look how many of us were on the drill field together. Um, our marriages, unfortunately ended. You were able to make it all the way to the end. She's your number one fan. Tell her you love her every day." And she just happened to be right above me working in an office because she worked from home. Um, so I said, "Why not go upstairs and tell her I love her?" And then from there, just the journey continued. Um, I recognized something. Um, there was something there that was significant that happened. I just didn't know how to explain it. That to me, that's divine intervention. There's no other way to explain that. Uh, Maybe one, a coincidence, but two, back to back at the same time. I mean, that's divine intervention. And two people that I loved and respected more than probably anybody that I served with. Um, the two most influential people um, that I had served with. That I mean, if it would have been somebody else, maybe I wouldn't have answered. I don't know. Um, but yeah, so as time went by, I started developing a better relationship with my family. I started becoming more vested into my own um, personal well being. Um, I mean, I was going to the VA. I don't know how many doctors I was seeing. Mental health practitioners. I was trying everything. Little paddles that buzz in your hand and all kinds of things. Some of it was good. Some of it really didn't have any kind of effect. And then it's probably about um, let's see, yeah, probably about 8 months after uh, my my decision in the basement. Um, I kept getting uh, because I had social media at the time. I got rid of social media for a long time. I mean, I have social media now, but I got rid of it. But I had social media at the time, and I was, spent a lot of time on it. And I kept seeing something for it's called the Mighty Oaks program, which is a retreat for veterans, and it's at no cost to the veteran at all. But it's extremely and they make no bones about it. It's a faith-based program. So, I was at my, it's a enlightenment phase. I was like, "You know what? I'll go maybe, I'll learn a meditation technique or something, and I'm just going there for the maybe I'll learn something scientific." I remember telling myself. And when I got there, and as they were it was like, 12 hours of classes every day, nonstop, talking scripture, things like that, um, having, connections with people that are like-minded, um, being in the Word, being in scripture, being active in your community, and as all these things are going, excuse me, my catechesis from my younger days started coming back to me when I was spending, the evenings, after we were done with class and, I'm doing my reading or whatever, and I start thinking about back to the lessons that I learned when I was, a young Catholic, and I don't know, something just clicked, and, once I, graduated on the last day of the retreat, it was a 5-day retreat, um, it was in Columbus, Ohio, which is about 3 hours from me. I drove the 3 hours back and drove straight to the parish that's right up the street from my house. And it was probably we graduated like 3 o'clock, so it was probably 6, 7 in the evening. I said, "You know what? I'll just stop and see if the priest is there." I knocked, and sure enough, he was there, and, I gave him um, the Cliff Notes version of my life up until that point, and, he sat and he listened. Um, I know he was getting ready to leave when I got there, because he answered the door, and it was like that, so he had to have been standing on the other side of the door getting ready to walk out of it, so, again, timing, you can't I don't know. So he's like, "I'll see you on Sunday," and I haven't missed a Sunday mass since, and that was August of 2021. So, yep, from there, it just kept, you know, started getting more, in tune with my faith, started becoming more, started studying more, started to ask questions, and started wanting those questions answered. So I would go and I would look for the answers. I would, you know, I started developing relationships with the clergy at my church. I started developing relationships with people within the church. Started going to men's groups, and started going to the Bible study groups, and it was slowly building over time. And when the first Lenten period came up, after I came back into the faith, I said, I'm really gonna go for broke this time. I'm gonna do the fasting. I'm gonna do all the things that I never did as a younger Catholic. And, I'm gonna go to confession. I'm gonna confess my sins for the first time in 20 years. And after I did that, there was no turning back after that. And my faith has done nothing but exponentially grow since then. I mean, I'm uh, right now, just finished my own book. I'm um, getting ready to graduate from Franciscan University of Steubenville with a master's degree in theology, and I was selected for the permanent diaconate. So, yeah,
It's a lot. That's great. So, how would you say your identity is now compared to what it was back then when you had that thought of doing something in the basement?
my identity. My identity at that point was just, I was a broken individual that was reminiscing and pining for past glory. Um, I was, I had one foot in the past, and I couldn't get it out. Um, my identity now is that, it's forward facing. And it's not my 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 gaze and my vision is not primarily on myself. It's on serving others, and it's for bringing the gospel and the kingdom of Christ within my sphere of influence.
Yeah. And
And
how does that
talking
make you
about two totally,
Yeah, 2 totally different, yeah, spectrums, right? Eh,
yeah, absolutely.
yeah. How does that make you feel for who you are today?
Um, at one point in my journey, I was really, I want to say, I found it very hard to forgive myself for my past wrongs. Um, Once I was able to get past that, um, that was extreme in and of itself. Um, so at one point, for a good period of time, I knew I was making forward progress, but I still, uh, I lamented uh, a lot of stuff in my past. Um, it was very hard for me. I knew that I'd received forgiveness, through the sacrament of reconciliation from God, but I was still unable to forgive myself. And once I was able to forgive myself, um, I sometimes it's extremely surreal, um, how I sometimes have to pinch myself. I don't. It's still it's still hard to comprehend. It's still hard to grasp. But as
Mm.
far as there's a joy and a fire in me that I d- I I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I've ever had it in my entire lifetime, even when I was doing what I loved in the Marine Corps.
Mm.
It's different. It's in I think a lot of it in the Marine Corps was just um, bravado and my own ego. But now I know it's for something else. It's for the glory of Christ. It's not for me. And try to make a difference in the world, man.
Yeah. That's what it's all about, right? So,
No, oh yeah, absolutely.
do you feel like you're being led? You're going down this path. It's not your own choosing, right? It's God's choosing.
Yes. Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the decision for the diaconate is something that came out of the blue one day at church too. I mean, the deacons we have within the diocese, and especially in my church, you're talking about some outstanding individuals. If you would have told me at my time at the end of my career, I thought all the mentors that I was going to have in my life all wore the uniform. I thought, what the days of me receiving mentorship are over.
Mm.
I would have laughed in your face. You said, "Yeah, you're gonna run into a couple of civilian individuals, deacons in the Catholic Church that are going to be, um, have a tremendous amount of influence on you." I would have laughed at you. I would have laughed at your face. I said, "There's no way, um, some civilian's going to be with the mentors that I've had." But no.
Mhm.
Um, so uh, they were had a tremendous amount of influence on me, and I was sitting in mass one day, and it just came to me that what are you going to do? This is a good way for you to serve others for the remainder of your days and to be happy. Because I see the amount of the immense amount of joy that they get from being able to interact with the parishioners and help them and assist them. And it's not for their own glory. I mean, they don't even get paid. You know, so they're doing it, for the greater glory of God. And it just resonated with me so much. And this is you're talking 4 years before I even submitted my package for the diaconate because I had to wait because they were still in the middle of a class. So I had to wait. I had to wait a good 4 year period. And at the end of that 4 year period, you know, me and my wife talked about it in the beginning of that period. Maybe this is something that'll wane, and by the time it comes up for the next group, you already went through that phase. If it's just a phase, you'd already went through it. 4 years is a long time. I mean, that's an enlistment. But no, my resolve was even stronger at the end of that 4 years. And yeah,
That's awesome. I could just everything you just shared with whoever's listening, or even if they watch this, right? Your emotions, all the thoughts, the feelings, and everything is just right here with what you had to share. Um, and so I wasn't even there. I don't even know what you went through, right? But I could feel it. And you just, I know you kind of just scratched the surface a little bit, so I'm sure you could have dove a little bit deeper in things. But I think what you are sharing is something that's meant to be shared, right? People need to know, um, first of all, that they deserve to be here. There's a reason that they're here, right? And so don't
Absolutely.
yeah, so if it's that phone call or something that's happening, there's a reason it's happening. So just do that, right? Answer that phone call, whatever that is. Um, I'm curious, and maybe other people are curious too, is what's the book about? Is that part of this whole journey too with the military and everything?
Oh, yeah, this is, um yeah, the book is this is, um I mean, it expands upon more. I mean, I kinda gave you, again, the cliff notes,
Yeah.
'cause I'll ramble on, and I know you, um, you have limited time this evening. I didn't wanna just keep going and rambling. But yeah, my book, it covers that entire period. It starts at the moment within, well, I actually devote, like, an entire chapter up until the point of, my experience in the basement, and then, I investigate that. I give some backstory on, Ross Blaine and Robert Lytle. Talk about my relationship with my wife and how, I was jettisoned into, this life of faith, and how it just gained momentum, and the steps, especially, toward the end of the book, I try to, make it more of a learning thing, how, these individual pieces came together and how they enriched my life. So I kinda go, in depth into that because, I know it's not gonna be the same for everybody, but, I found a tremendous amount, and still to this day, um, a tremendous amount of, strength, a tremendous amount of, enrichment in in the sacraments of the church. Um, I mean, that's, um if anybody knows anything about the Catholic Church, they know that uh, the most holy Eucharist, we consider that the body and the legitimate body, blood, soul, and divinity of our Lord Jesus Christ. Um, Once that became the center, because that is the source and summit of the faith for the Catholic faith. Once that became the source and summit of my individual faith, it changed the whole dynamics of the way in which I live. Now, granted, and I think, this is one of the things I think, um, has an adverse effect on a lot of people, is in order to remain in a state of grace to receive that sacrament, you have to make changes in your life. I had to make tremendous changes in my life. There was a lot of things that I had to, habitual sin, mortal sin. There was a lot of things that I was doing that was, mortal sin. I had to give those things up. A lot of people, that's where they struggle completely. But you can't get through it. I'm living proof of that. I'm living proof of you can overcome your struggles, by leaning on God, by leaning on Christ, by leaning on the most Holy Spirit. Again, I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for, the triune God. Um, but yeah, I mean, it has had a profound effect on me.
Yeah, and writing your book and being on this podcast and whatever else you're doing is a way you can show up and serve others, uh, to get it out there in front of people. So how can somebody, purchase the book?
Um, I have a um, I have a storefront. Um, let me uh, let me see if I can bring. I do not have the address memorized. My
That's
memory's horrible.
yeah, you can
So
give it to me. I'll put it in the show notes and stuff. But
okay, yeah.
so you go to your
Yeah,
storefront. Okay.
I have my own storefront. I still have some pre-orders left. After that, the price will raise a little bit on the book
Mhm.
after the pre-orders are done. But just, to let everybody know, um, I'm not doing this to make any kind of significant money. Any of the proceeds that I get from this book, I take some of the proceeds and I give them to, a youth organization within my parish, and then Um, there's the Kelly Pavlik uh, non- uh, nonprofit organization that he started a couple years ago. He's been doing phenomenal work working with a lot of the younger individuals. Um, some blessed, some not so blessed. Um, come one, come all, and he's training. Yeah, I just stopped by tonight to see him, and he had like 15, 15, 20 kids in the gym. They were just getting done for the day. Um, a lot of the proceeds, most of the proceeds are going to go to those organizations. Um, once the price raises, that doesn't change. Um, so, but
Awesome.
yeah, I got that I got my storefront. Um, as of right now, and I'll get you the address for that, John.
No, yeah, I appreciate it. Is there any other way somebody can reach out to you, connect with you, or maybe you can help them in any way besides just a book?
Um, my email address is Lou Aless 001 at gmail.com. And then I have I don't know how many Louie Alessios there are. Um, more than likely, it's going to have a picture uh, that's promoting my book um, in the profile picture. So just Louis Alessio on Facebook. Um, just send me a friend request. I'll be more than happy to accept it. You'll be able to tell which one it's normally going to have some kind of religious um, iconic art or something like that. Right now, there's just something on there for my book and the title of the book. So there I was out of ammo. So
Okay. Awesome. And so I ask everybody one question at the end. So, what are
okay.
three key things you've learned and used along your journey?
Um, one, you have to be able to forgive yourself. You can't. And I know so many people in my life that they are stuck within the things that they did. They find it very hard to be able to forgive themselves and be able to move forward. So that's like the proverbial they used to do. They put the thing around hook around somebody and pull them off stage. That's the proverbial hook that won't let somebody move forward. Is their inability to forgive themselves. Um, Two, surrender. That's another hard one. Surrendering to God, um, putting things in God's hands, especially coming from the environment and where I came from, where I had an immense amount of control on my environment and I was able to shape things as I saw fit. Um, that's a mirage. Um, I found that life has become a lot easier if I put my worries and all my trust in God. And it has lightened a load on me that I cannot even begin to tell you. I just having putting my full trust, faith, and confidence in God in and of itself that He will be able to that He will take care of these things because that's what He promised. God's not going to put us through anything that we can't overcome. We can't. Uh, sometimes it's bad, sometimes not so bad, but He's not going to give us anything that we can't deal with, especially if we turn to Him. Once you turn to Him, that's man, that's a game changer. That's a lot of people get hung up on that one too because we have this inherent need to be able to control our environments and to shape things. You know, let yourself be the clay for a while instead of trying to shape it yourself. Make It makes a tremendous amount of difference, believe me. Um, and then the last thing, never, ever, ever, ever think that you're not worthy of being a part of this wonderful, wonderful world that we live in. And I know and again, from my perspective, The devil's becoming a lot more bolder as we go further along, and it's very hard. It's very hard to look at the environment around you when it's, you watch TV. I mean, there's a lot of things that are it creates an environment that it's very hard to maintain any kind of positivity. I mean, you watch the news. I mean, that's like watching a horror show.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you do? I mean, but God loves each and every one of us. And like I said, he's not gonna put us anything we can't deal with. Never think that you're not worthy to walk amongst all of us that are on this planet, because you are. And you never know. I mean, you don't um, if you surrender, you may find out that you're gonna have a significant impact on somebody else, or or you may just live your life in peace. Look for people to help you. I mean, you could look uh Facebook. There's a lot of things that are uncouth. You're exposed to a lot of things that are not there's nothing pure about them. But there's also a lot of positive messaging on there. There's a lot of people that it is so easy to reach out to people now. It's not like you got to get behind the phone. You got to look up stuff now. Granted, you're not going to go to somebody on Facebook for professional help, but I mean, there's a lot of positive people that are on Facebook that, I mean, it's just an easy, you reach out to them. Instagram. I don't know much about TikTok. I don't know about much about that. So
Yeah,
can't
stay away
say
from that
much
one.
about it. Or X. Don't know much about that either. But Instagram and Facebook. I mean, I've ran into I don't know how many tremendous and outstanding people, individuals that have positive outlooks, and they're willing to. I mean, they want to help other people. They're out there. You just got to know which. You just got to keep looking, opening doors.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I totally agree with that. I like everything you just shared with us. I like how you mentioned the hook, like pull you forward instead of like falling behind. It wasn't too long ago, and you would probably know the verse more than me and stuff. I don't. Um, where the hook was used to pull the sheep out of the river or something like that is uh so I get, and it was referred as me being the sheep in a way, right? And going to retrieve it. Um, so I when you shared that with me just now, that's what I remembered, right? And so you're being saved. I know how you were referencing it, but for me, I felt like I was being saved in a way to go do something else, and it could be the podcast, it could be everything else that I'm working on. Um, and for you, like yourself, coming on and sharing your journey and reaching people that we don't even know it's going to touch, right? Uh,
Willing.
yes,
I
yeah, absolutely.
God
That
willing.
yeah, um, and that's what it's all about for me. I w I'm not gonna go too far into this, but, we probably touched on this a little bit before we did the show, when we talked previously, and how my faith journey has only been about 3 years or so, maybe 4, and it's just slowly changing for me, and it's the people I'm meeting, and, I'll be honest, Giselle's been like a game changer for me, because she's been on that journey for a lot longer than I have, and
Yeah.
it's, it's allowed me to get to places where I never even thought and dreamed of, right? And to do something like this, and just keep moving forward with things. So, no, I say it from the heart. I can, everything you just shared, I feel it, right? So thank you, Louie, for sharing those three things, and thank you
Absolutely.
for sharing your journey that we touched on here. Whoever's watching, listen, make sure you go check out his link that I'll have and go purchase the book, because it might be something for you. It might be something for a gift for somebody else that needs to read it too. And I just encourage you to check that out and, uh, get that book and share it with others. So again, thanks Louie for your time.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you, John.
Yeah, you're welcome.